This all took place when I was 16 years old, and it is something that will always be embedded in my brain. I've always been the superstitious type. I loved all things paranormal and spiritual. That being said, I had never partaken in a Ouija board before, so when the conversation came up with my close friend, I was surprised to find out that her mum had a Ouija board stored away in their basement, with a load of other cool stuff. With that newfound information, I invited my friend around one night for a sleepover, telling her to bring the board so we could test it out. I invited her around on the weekend, knowing my parents were out for the night, so we were home alone, helping to make the atmosphere spookier for us. Well, I say alone, but my younger sister, who was 14 at the time, would be home with us. So naturally, I asked her to join us and play, as I was babysitting her anyway. So when my friend arrived and my parents had left for the night, it was around 10 PM when we got the Ouija board out of my friend's bag and looked to play. The box it was in was tattered, you could tell it was old, and looked to have been used before. Opening the box, we found the planchette, one of the main components we'd need to play. Having all the pieces, we gathered a few candles ready to light, and decided to set up the board in my bedroom on the floor. Having watched some videos on Ouija boards and how to play and what rules to follow, we began to play. Neither me or my friend had played one before, and of course my younger sister hadn't. She had only learned because of me what a Ouija board was. As we started playing, we all placed our fingers on the planchette over the board, and started asking your basic questions like, "Is there anyone with us? Give us a sign." I continued with, "Is there anyone here with us tonight?" And after a few minutes of those questions, to our surprise, when my sister said, "Hello, is there anyone there?" After a 10-second delay, the planchette began to move. It slowly made its way over to yes. And of course, at first we all looked at each other laughing, as we all suspected each other of moving the planchette between us. But as we all looked to prove it wasn't us, after my friend asked the question, "Are you a friend?" the planchette didn't move. All looking at each other and slowly loosening our fingertips to confirm and uncover if it was any of us, we were surprised when the planchette began to move again. Our fingers were barely touching it, and we could tell that it was moving under its own accord. If that didn't freak us out enough, the fact that it landed on no as its answer to our question really creeped us out. It wasn't a friend. We asked another question, asking why it was here. Again, there was a delay of around 15 seconds this time, before it began to make its way over the letters, spelling out the words, "want." All looking confused, me and my friend looked at each other, trying to understand what it meant. The only thing I could think to do was ask, "Want what?" As I asked that question, nothing happened. The planchette remained where it was. We waited in the eerie silence, looking at each other, until the silence was broken by the sound of the closet door creaking behind us. This freaked us all out as the door slowly creaked ajar. As our eyes glared at the closet, our attention was soon brought back to the board, as the planchette suddenly started to move from under our fingers, as it moved to the letter E, then to the next letter, slowly spelling out, to our horror, my sister's name. Understandably freaked out, I didn't know what to do as my sister began to cry scared as to why the board had spelt out her name, blaming me and my friend for trying to scare her. I wish it was that simple, but it wasn't us. To my horror, something had spelt out my sister's name. And confirming with my friend it definitely wasn't her, we decided to stop playing right then. My sister went to her room as me and my friend packed away the board. Having been creeped out by the whole process, we tried to lighten the mood and forget about it by putting a comedy on. But our conversation kept drawing back to the board. It wasn't long before my sister returned to my room, asking if she could sleep in my room that night as she was still pretty scared. I thought that was a good idea. With her in the same room as us, I thought it may help her calm down. Later that night, as we had all drifted off to sleep, I began to stir. The sound of what seemed to be creaking woke me up from my light sleep. Sitting up to see what it could be, I looked over to the other bed and then to the floor, and to my concern, I couldn't see my sister. The sound of creaking echoed again, and as I turned to see its source, my eyes widened. The closet door was wide open, with my sister standing in front of it, her back to me. As she stood staring into the darkness of the closet, I called out her name, asking her what she was doing. But she didn't respond. She didn't even move, as if she didn't hear me. As I got out of bed to approach her, it was then something caught my attention in the mirror. As I looked, my eyes widened in terror. In the reflection of the mirror, I could see my sister, where she stood looking into the closet. There was some sort of dark shadow hovering over her, looking as if it was latched onto her back. I screamed, looking round at her, but there was no shadow there. My friend, now awake, asked me what was going on. I pointed to the mirror to show her, but there was nothing there. Just my sister staring back at us wide-eyed, before collapsing onto the floor, unconscious. I ran over to her, shaking her, trying to wake her. The closet door began to creak before swinging back and forth frantically. Terrified as to what was happening, I didn't know what to do. The door slammed shut, and as it did, my sister's eyes opened as she shot up, gasping for air. Tears filling my eyes, I hugged her, asking if she was okay. She cried into my shoulder as she said the haunting words that will stick with me forever. The man in the closet tried to take me. Completely freaked out, me and my friend looked at each other, remembering what the board had spelt earlier. In his sheer panic, the only thing we could think to do was to get the board as we discarded of it. After that night, things never felt the same. I always felt an uncomfortable feeling whilst in that house, especially when it came to the closet in my room. My sister was never the same after that night, and it took her a lot of time to feel somewhat normal again. It is something we both try to forget, but we never truly will. Ouija boards are not worth the risk. You never know what you may open them up to. Ouija boards, if you believe in them or not, I'm here to tell you from personal experience that they are not to be messed with. This experience happened recently when a friend was helping me sort through my family stuff stored in the attic. My mom wanted to hold a yard sale and get rid of a load of clutter we had taking up room in the house. So I had invited a friend around to help me sort through all of our stuff stored in the attic. As we made our way through boxes and boxes of junk, I ended up coming across an old Ouija board buried under a load of books, the planchette wrapped in an old handkerchief. I had never seen it before, and didn't know we even owned one. As I finished examining it, I went to toss it aside in the pile to get rid of it, and my friend suggested we keep it and play it. Neither of us had ever partaken in Ouija boards before, and to be honest, I didn't really expect much. So I entertained my friend's idea and agreed to play. Later that evening, after we had finished up sorting through my family's belongings and eaten dinner, we decided to test our bravery with the board. We had heard stories of Ouija boards and seen videos on them before, so the concept wasn't unfamiliar to us, and we knew how to participate. So, having it set up, we turned off the lights and lit a candle, as we both sat and placed our hands on the planchette. Following my friend's lead, he began to ask it questions as he called out, asking if anyone was there. I joined in, asking if anyone could hear us. As we both sat, waiting for a response, we were disappointed to see nothing happened. After a few minutes of waiting, we were beginning to feel like we were wasting our time, so we decided to try one final time. And if nothing notable happened, then we would call it a night. As I called out one more time, asking if anyone was there, the candle began to flicker. Now, bearing in mind we were in a room with no windows open and no draft getting in, both looking at each other again, we asked if anyone was with us. It was then that the planchette began to move. Not ready to believe so fast, I assumed it was my friend messing with me. I asked him if he was moving it, but the surprise on his face and the tone of his voice soon let me know it wasn't him. To be sure, we both moved a hand away, and to our shock, it kept moving. As we watched the planchette land on the word yes, as something had answered my call asking if someone was with us. I'm not going to lie, this fucking freaked me out. As we placed our hands back down, we followed with more questions, asking who they were. They didn't answer. Asking another question, I asked if whoever it was what they wanted. It's then, at that question, The planchette began to move again as it slowly hovered over the letters. Y-O-U. It spelt out you, as if aimed at me, the person asking the question. Freaked out by this, I told my friend we needed to stop, and it didn't take much persuading him for him to agree. Removing the planchette and folding up the board, we put it back in the box and sat there, discussing what had just happened. After calming ourselves down and eventually laughing off the experience, my friend left for the night, as I got myself ready and headed to bed. That night, I woke to what sounded like someone calling my name. As I came to my senses, I sat up, looking around my room. I couldn't see or hear anyone. Thinking I must have been dreaming and in a light sleep, I was about to lay back down when I heard the sound of a thud coming from the hallway. Looking at the time and knowing everyone would be in bed by now, I got up to see what the noise was. As I opened my bedroom door, looking out into the hallway, a cold shiver ran down my spine as I saw my attic wide open with the ladder hanging down. My mind racing. Did I shut it properly earlier that night? But knowing even if I didn't, there was no way that it could open and the ladder lower by itself. Then that meant someone had to have opened it. Or worse, be up there. Foolishly, instead of calling for my parents, I decided to investigate myself. Stepping closer to the ladder, listening out, I couldn't hear anything, apart from the sound of my own heart racing. As I reached the bottom, looking up, I could see the flickering of a light. Slowly ascending the steps to get a look inside, I wasn't ready for what I saw. As I looked into the attic, it wasn't a person I saw. It was the sight of the Ouija board laid out on the floor, with a candle flickering over it. Scared shitless, I froze on the ladder, just staring, hoping I was dreaming. But as I felt something brush across my face and feel as if something tried to pull me up into the attic, I screamed, letting go of the ladder, falling and crashing to the floor. My parents soon joined me in the hallway, startled and concerned, as they asked me what the hell was going on. Still in shock, I told them about the Ouija board in the loft, and that earlier that night we had played it. Naturally, they were shocked and pissed. My dad retrieved the board from the attic and took it straight to the fireplace and burned it. It had been an old keepsake from my mother's side of the family. She had forgotten it was up there after all those years. After ranting at me for messing with stuff I don't know about, my mum's concern came through, as she told me that with things like that, it should not be messed with, and that if you do, then it should be closed down properly, meaning the doorway to spirits you invite in are closed. Me and my friend clearly didn't do that, as we didn't know. That night was one of the scariest moments of my life. And ever since, I get this uncomfortable feeling and always feel as if there's a presence around me, watching me. I don't recommend playing with a Ouija board, especially if you're unfamiliar with how they work. Thank you for joining us and watching this chilling video. We hope you enjoyed this topic and you found the fear within. What other subjects would you like to hear soon? Let us know in the comments what creeps you out. If you're new here, say hello. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Become a part of the Horror Motives world. See you soon with another terrifying video.